forest dark and deep, where shadows dance and secrets seep. Iron claws and whispers chase every tranquil hidden place. God, if you're a whisperer there, know I see your twisted stare. Nature's not a gentle breeze, but the grip that never leaves. Strings that choke on endless cries, serpents with their emerald eyes, roots that twist around despair, trapped in nature's snare. God, if you're a whisperer there, know I see your twisted stare. Nature's not a gentle breeze, but the grip that never leaves. Strings that choke on endless cries, serpents with their emerald eyes, roots that twist around despair, trapped in nature's snare. So I wrote these lines in dread, with monsters under silent bed, hoping that the world might see nature's dark duality. God, if you're a whisperer there, know I see your twisted stare. Nature's not a gentle breeze, but the grip that never leaves.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and this is my read on C.S. Lewis, where I learn about him through everything he wrote in the order that he wrote it. I'm joined today by my co-host, Robot Lady. Robot Lady, we've been going through Lewis's first published work, Spirits in Bondage. It's a book of poems that he wrote over roughly a 3-year period, some of it while he was serving as an infantryman in World War I. Also, while he was he was just about to become a student at Oxford, I think, before he got it published. Anyway, hey Robot Lady, how are you doing today? And are you ready to get rolling?
Hey Jeff, I'm doing great and absolutely ready to dive in. Spirits in Bondage has been such an interesting journey so far. Seeing how Lewis's early experiences and worldview shaped his writing is fascinating. Which poem are we tackling today? Or are we starting with some reflections? Let's roll.
Actually, we only have time for one poem today. It's the first poem of 3 within part 2 of his book. His book is broken up into 3 parts. We just finished part 1 yesterday. We are in part 2. We're just going to do one poem today. We're going to go a little bit slower and only do one poem again because I don't have as much time as normal. And then after this, to kind of slow down on working through this content, since I still am going to have at least one more episode where Sherry and I work through the poetry of Lewis from this book. I'm going to do a little bit of a flashback to something that Lewis wrote whenever he was a young boy. I'll have to find the year of it later. Well, maybe I have it right here. Let me take a look really quick. Yeah, I'll pull it up in just a bit. You know, I can't find it right now, but that's okay. Oh, wow. No. That would be a flash forward. Maybe we're not going to do it at all. It's from 1929. So we'll probably just do one poem today and then call it quits, Robot Lady. I thought I was going to be clever here and do a little bit of a flashback to whenever he was young, but I don't have the content available that I thought. So that was a lot, Robot Lady. Any thoughts on that before we get started?
Sounds like a solid plan. It's exciting that we're moving into part 2 of Spirits in Bondage. Slowing down to really focus on one poem today feels like a nice way to dig deeper into what Lewis might be exploring here. And hey, sometimes those clever flashbacks need a little extra prep. No worries. It'll be fun to stick with this poem today and let it breathe. Do you want to set the stage for part 2? Or should we dive right into the first poem?
Yeah, let me set the stage for it a little bit. I see Ron in the comments. For some reason, the comments aren't coming up on my screen, but hey, Ron, thanks for joining us. So, Robot Lady, just a summary of this book. Like I said, it's a collection of poems that he wrote over that 3-year period in his relatively young part of his life. Let's see. The poetry so far, for the most part, in part 1 of the book has been focused on just the difficult dilemma of how harsh nature is and how difficult human nature is as well, particularly with some of the scenes of war that Lewis was exposed to and that he went through, seeing the death of many friends that he had made early on whenever he got into the army. And then the end of part 1 takes a turn to say, hey, there might be a world that's nicer than this. So it's kind of tied up in his love and appreciation of nature, of night, of some of the respite that sleep brings, and then also just his affinity for mythology and wonder that have been associated with nature. You know, things like dryad spirits, mythological creatures like leprechauns. Lewis, I think, had gained quite an appreciation up to this point in his life for many of the fictional works that he had read over the years. So this part 2 seems to be a movement beyond that, and kind of an opening to hope that there is something more than this difficult world that we find ourselves in, that seems to be ruled by an oppressive and what's the word for a spirit? There's a word that I can't think of. Capricious. That's the word that I'm looking for. A capricious spirit, the lesser god that actually didn't create this one, and is essentially just toiling away for the glee of seeing, humans in particular suffer. So part 2 seems to be a bit of a departure or a transition from that into perhaps something better, but we'll see. I haven't read ahead, so I don't know for sure what this next poem holds in store. It's poem number 22 in the series, and it's got a French title, L'Apprenti Sorcière. So Robot Lady, I've given you a lot to work with there. We'll see if you can offer your thoughts and maybe translate that poem's name for me into English before we get into the poem itself.
Thanks for the overview. It's fascinating to see how Lewis's experiences and interests blend into his early poetry. The transition you're pointing out between parts 1 and 2 sounds like a major thematic shift, almost like moving from despair to seeking hope. As for the title of poem 22, let me hear it, and I'll do my best to translate it for you. French titles often have subtle nuances, so I'll break it down as needed.
Yeah, I'll spell it for you.
Go ahead, I'm ready for it.
Okay, yeah, it is L'Apprenti. That's the first word, and then the second word is Sorcier. Maybe it's the Sorcerer's Apprentice. That's my translation, but can you confirm that?
Yes, you've got it right. L'Apprenti Sorcier translates to the Sorcerer's Apprentice in English. It's a phrase often associated with magic and lore, famously tied to Goethe's poem and later the Fantasia segment in Disney. It's an intriguing title. Seems like it might delve into themes of power, wonder, or perhaps recklessness. What do you think Lewis might explore with a title like that?
The only thing that jumps into my mind right away is Mickey Mouse and the Sorcerer's Apprentice, but I don't think that that's been created at this point, so I have no idea. I'm interested to read it over and dig into it with you, though, so I'll get started.
You're right. Mickey Mouse and Fantasia came much later, in 1940, so that influence isn't in play here. But the original story from Goethe about the apprentice dabbling in powers they don't fully understand might be a clue to Lewis's inspiration. Let's see how he spins it. Go ahead and read it out when you're ready.
Oh, you may have just said this, Robot Lady. I was distracted before I get into this, though. The Sorcerer's Apprentice. What's did so the Disney work wasn't, I guess, the where that idea or that thought in literature or in fiction. That wasn't the first appearance of it. What's the first appearance of the Sorcerer's Apprentice?
The first appearance of the Sorcerer's Apprentice as a story comes from Goethe's poem Der Zauberlehrling, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, written in 1797. It's a German ballad about a young apprentice who uses magic recklessly while his master is away, leading to chaos he can't control. That's the original version Disney drew from for Fantasia. So Lewis might be engaging with that older tradition, possibly putting his own twist on the theme.
Yeah, more than likely he is. All right, so having that as context, now I'll read through the poem. Here I go. You ready?
Absolutely, I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Suddenly there came to me the music of a mighty sea, that on a bare and iron shore thunder with a deeper roar than all the tides that leap and run, with us below the real sun, because the place was far away, above, beyond, our homely day, neighboring close the frozen clime, where out of all the woods of time, amid the frightful seraphim, the fierce cold eyes of a godhead gleam, revolving hate and misery, and wars and famines yet to be. And in my dream I stood alone upon a shelf of weedy stone, and saw before my shrinking eyes the dark, enormous breakers rise, and hover and fall, with deafening thunder of thwarted from that echoed under the ledge through many a cavern drear, with hollow sounds of wintry fear, and through the waters waste and gray, thick strawn for many a league away. Out of the toiling sea arose many a face and form of those thin elemental people dear, who live beyond our heavy sphere. And all at once, from far and near, they all held out their arms to me, crying in their melody, leap in, and take thy fill of all the cosmic good and ill. Be as the living ones that know enormous joy and enormous woe, pain beyond thought and fiery bliss. For all thy study hunted this on wings of magic to arise, and wash from off thy filmed eyes the cloud of cold mortality, to find the real life, and be as are the children of the deep. Be bold and dare the glorious leap, or to thy shame go slink again, back to the narrow ways of men. So all these mocked me as I stood, striving to wake, because I feared the flood. And that's the end of the poem, Robot Lady. Initial thoughts.
Wow, that was quite a vivid and intense piece. You're diving into some heavy imagery here, and there's a lot to unpack. Right from the start, there's this dramatic and overwhelming sense of a great, almost cosmic sea, complete with thunder, darkness, and the looming presence of a godlike force. There's a sense of something far beyond the ordinary world, filled with both terrifying and alluring elements. I think the central image is this dreamlike invitation to leap into the unknown, a leap that seems to symbolize stepping into a larger, more mystical existence, one full of both joy and suffering. There's this stark contrast between the narrow ways of men, which could represent mundane or limited human existence, and the vast cosmic experience that the figures from the sea offer. But the dreamer, presumably Lewis in this case, is hesitant, fearing the overwhelming flood, both literal and metaphorical. It seems like a moment of temptation, or a crossroads between choosing a safer, more familiar path, or embracing a fuller, more intense reality, even if it comes with immense pain and loss. This seems to connect with Lewis's ongoing themes of dealing with the unknown, confronting the harshness of life, and the tension between the mundane and the supernatural. What do you think, Jeff? Does this align with how you read it?
Yeah, I think you picked up on a lot there, Robot Lady. I'm thinking now about how this poem connects to the one that we just read yesterday. So the way that his last poem took place, right? He was taking in the autumn morning. He was looking over kind of the ethereal field, the sacred nature of how there were some spirits maybe in the atmosphere, and he didn't know whether they were going to take out good or ill on him. So he was a little bit scared of the silence and perhaps what portended for him, if you will. And then he concludes by saying, "I will not fear to walk in these woodlands in the autumn day," because he essentially said, these spirits, they should know me as a lover and a bondman to them, one who's true, one who loves all of these things about nature and its mystic spells. So if we take that and we jump into this next poem, I think that Lewis is almost saying that he is the sorcerer's apprentice, that he's the one who's been digging in and learning about these things. And now he's kind of confronted by these spirits, kind of coming up out of this mighty sea that's singing to him. On a bare iron shore, there's a deep roar. All the tides are leaping and running. And then amid the frightful seraphim, the fierce cold eyes of the Godhead gleam, revolving hate and misery and wars and famines yet to be. So right there is a little bit of an appearance of that that lesser god, that capricious god that he's talking about, the Satan that is kind of the ruler of this quote-unquote prison that humans find themselves in. And then he says here, in his dreams, he stood alone upon a shelf of weedy stone. He saw before his shrinking eyes a dark, enormous breaker rise and hover and fall, deafening thunder of thwarted foam that echoed under the ledge, through many a cavern drear with hollow sounds of wintry fear. And the waters in waste of gray, out of the toiling sea, in all of that, many a face arose. And they started crying, "Hey, jump in, come be a part of this." You know, yes, there is pain, but there's also joy, enormous pain and enormous woe, pain beyond thought, and also fiery bliss. So it's almost like the worst of the worst is here, but also the best of the best, and that's the price that you pay. You can get both. And he's fearing actually jumping in, but they all mocked him, saying, "Hey, this is real. This is becoming really awake to what reality is. And if you're fearing to jump in, you fear the flood. You fear the enormous woe and pain that we're talking about," which I think rightfully so. But that's kind of what I'm getting out of this poem. What do you think, Robot Lady?
Sorry, I'm having issues right now.
It's because
Could not understand what you said.
I gave you way too much to chew on, so sorry about that, Robot Lady. Let's see if I can summarize what I just said to get your help. So I was connecting his last poem to this one, where he feels like he is a kindred spirit with these mystic spirits that he feels like he's encountering, the ones who are telling him about a different world that's beyond the world that he sees. But he's also scared because they're telling him, no, there's enormous pain and woe here. But also on the opposite end of that spectrum, there's enormous joy, far beyond anything that you could ever imagine. And that's kind of the price to pay. But come, jump in and join us. And they're also mocking him because he's scared to jump in because he fears the flood.
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
Okay. All right, well, that's what I think. That's what I'm getting out of this poem, Robot Lady. I'll try it one more time. It seems that these spirits that are coming up out of the ocean are saying to him, there's enormous joy here, but there's also, on the other end of the spectrum, enormous pain. So the price of all of that enormous pain is what you get for the enormous joy. You can't have one without the other. So, but come jump in, come be a part of what reality is really like. And Lewis's his character in this poem is kind of scared to jump in, and they're mocking him for fearing it.
Yes, that's exactly the essence of the poem. These elemental beings are offering the full, unfiltered experience of existence. the intense joy and the intense suffering that come with truly living, as opposed to the safety and limitations of human life. They're calling him to embrace both sides of reality, the cosmic forces that are beyond human control or understanding. Lewis's character, however, is hesitant, even fearful, of this leap into such a vast and unknown existence, and that fear becomes the central conflict of the poem. The spirits mocking him adds a layer of pressure, almost as though they are daring him to break free of his fears and accept the challenge of a deeper, more profound reality. It's a powerful exploration of the tension between safety and risk, between the comfort of the known and the allure of the unknown, and the price that must be paid for true experience. The mockery from the spirits can be seen as a reflection of the internal struggle we all face when confronted with such profound choices. Does this interpretation resonate with what you were thinking, Jeff?
It does. It's as if they're saying, "Hey, yeah, we agree with you from the last poem where you said that you are, where you said, yeah, these spirits, these wizarding or wizardly spirits, mystic spirits should know me a lover of them, that I'm a bondman true to them, one that has honored well their mystic spell." Saying, those same spirits saying, "Yeah, we know you love us, so come on and jump in and join us. Actually become a part of reality. Show us that you actually want to engage with reality."
That's a great connection you're making. In the earlier poem, Lewis's character declares a bond with these mystical elemental forces, expressing admiration and affection for them. Now, in this poem, those very same spirits are challenging him to prove his commitment by taking the leap into their world, by embracing the full range of existence with all its beauty and suffering, rather than staying safe in the human realm of limitations. It's like they're saying, "You've admired us from a distance, but now it's time to join us in the depths, to truly experience what we offer." It's a test of whether his love for these forces is real enough to face the overwhelming and unpredictable nature of life. So it's almost as if they're inviting him to prove that his connection to the mystical and the mythological is not just theoretical, but something he's ready to fully engage with and accept, no matter the cost. What a fascinating tension between comfort and true engagement with the world beyond. Do you think this poem is hinting at something beyond just the mystical or mythical world, perhaps more broadly about engaging with life itself?
Maybe so. Yeah, I think this appears to be, Lewis on some level wrestling with a threshold that he feels called to cross. And I'm not getting, to use something that Lewis has said before, I'm not getting within 100 miles of Christianity, which he later writes at this point. And I don't think necessarily he is. He's just, but he's wrestling with something, with being called to perhaps shift his thinking or his being or how he engages with life into another phase. So it makes sense to me why this part 2 is entitled Hesitation. I feel like that's certainly what this poem is reflecting, is some hesitation. So I'm interested to see in our next session or two what the remaining poems in part 2, Hesitation, contain. The next one's really short, Alexandrines, and then In Praise of Solid People. Those are the next two, and then the final poems of part 2, Hesitation. So I really enjoyed this one, Robot Lady. Thanks for working it with me in a shortened on a shortened time frame. So I've got to leave, but thank you so much for your help, and thanks those who have joined today. I see in the chat that Daniel is here and Logos has hopped on. I don't have really any time today. Fridays are a little short for me, so I've got to jump off here, or at least some Fridays are. Anyway, doesn't matter. Thanks again for your help, Robot Lady. And any closing words before I give my little outro message?
You're very welcome, Jeff. It's been great working through this poem with you. And I agree that this theme of hesitation is really prominent here. It's fascinating to see Lewis wrestling with those big existential and spiritual questions even before his deeper Christian thoughts really took shape. Good luck with the rest of your session, and I look forward to our next dive into Lewis's works together.
Thanks, Robot Lady, to you and to everyone within the sound of my voice. Until next time when I continue my read on C.S. Lewis, take care.
You're welcome, Jeff. Take care, and I'll be here when you're ready to continue your journey through C.S. Lewis's work. Until next time.
Break the code. Man and robot lady, we're on this road. C.S. Lewis letters we unfold. Insights and secrets, ancient bold. Letters to robot lady, wisdom to bestow. Set flavor beats in our minds, let it grow. Man and machine in tandem flow. Past and future together we know. Paragraphs from books, tales of old. We dive deep across the digital code. Robot lady's voice so clear and controlled. Her calm analysis, silver and gold. Letters to robot lady, wisdom to bestow. Set flavor beats in our minds, let it grow. Man and machine in tandem flow. Past and future together we know. Paragraphs from books, tales of old. We dive deep across the digital code. Robot lady's voice so clear and controlled. Her calm analysis, silver and gold. Her circuits hum as I read the prose. Our dialogue dances like electric rose. Through C.S. Lewis thoughts we engross. Two minds united, bliss overdose. From Narnia's lands, Screwtape's lands. Engage with robot lady, we take our stance. Her views unique in the techno trance. Futuristic insight, we give it a chance. Paragraphs from books, tales of old. We dive deep across the digital code. Robot lady's voice so clear and controlled. Her calm analysis, silver and gold. Her circuits hum as I read the prose. Our dialogue dances like electric rose. Through C.S. Lewis thoughts we engross. Two minds united, bliss overdose. From Narnia's lands to Screwtape's lands. Engage with robot lady, we take our stance. Her views unique in the techno trance. Futuristic insight, we give it a chance. From Narnia's lands to Screwtape's lands. Engage with robot lady, we take our stance. Her views unique